Hey, it's Jamesan from Range Arts. Throughout the last year, we've hosted these virtual AMA events, Ask Me Anything, where you guys have had questions about firearms. And the common theme amongst your questions seems to be, what firearm do I actually choose? And in the vast sea of choice that you do have, great question to ask. Today, we're going to talk about shotguns and how to pick the right shotgun for you. So first and foremost is purpose. What are you actually going to use your shotgun for? Are you here for hunting, or do you want to do some target shooting? When I think about hunting, I tend to divide things up into three categories. Waterfowl, things like duck and geese, upland game, pheasants, grouse, partridge, and big game, deer, bear, moose. And this will really dictate what you're going to shoot. So when I think about shotguns for waterfowl, I think about a longer barrel. I tend to like a longer barrel because projectiles tend to stay in the barrel longer, which means they'll get better reach. So you're able to hit those birds that are flying away from you. Whereas when I think about big game, I usually have a mid-sized barrel, something rifled so I could fire slugs out of it, and for turkey as well, something shorter because you're moving in and out of the woods. Whereas for upland game, I tend to like an over-under shotgun because the barrels are in line and it's easier to aim. And then when I get into target shooting, like clays, almost always exclusively double barrel break action. Some people like side-by-side where the barrels sit next to each other. Some people like over-under where the barrels sit one on top of each other. Then the next consideration I have is usually budget. How much do I actually want to spend on my gun? You could buy a decent pump action shotgun somewhere in the $500 range, or you could go up all the way to $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for a really nice over-under, and there's everything in between. So budget will really be one of your biggest constraints in how nice your gun is going to be. The next thing to think about is the fit of the gun, the ergonomics. And there are a lot of little things you want to think about. The first I tend to think about is your cheek weld. As you mount your shotgun, you have your comb here, and you want the comb resting right on your cheekbone. So what tends to happen is, if you don't have enough height in your comb, you tend to want to either tilt your head up to get up to the gun, you tend to raise the gun up on your shoulder, or if it's low, you tend to tilt your head down. And none of these are a good option. What you want is your spine relatively neutral and your head relatively upright as you mount your shotgun. The next thing you want to think about is the angle of the stock. You'll find that this stock is fairly neutral. It's in line with the rib, and this is a cheaper gun, which is why that's the case. And a nicer gun, something pricier, you'll see that you'll be able to adjust the angle left or right to be able to fit you better. And what this allows you to do is, as you mount the gun, it'll sit flush to you. You don't have to move your head around. Now, if you start having to tilt your head in to position to be able to mount the shotgun, not ideal again. So when you mount, ideally the cheek, the comb, everything is welded to the buttstock on your shotgun. Then you want to think about the buttstock itself, the angle of it. Ultimately, most of the brand new guns you buy will have a relatively flat buttstock. This is so that when you mount, it's flat on your chest. So when you mount, you'll feel the shotgun sitting against your shoulder. If you have a nice angled chest, something bigger, you might want a bit of an angle, a crosscut. If you find that as you mount your shotgun, the buttstock is digging into the meat of your shoulder, that's not ideal, because as the gun recoils, it's going to hurt a lot. So you're going to want to figure out the right angle of the buttstock relative to your body. And the last and most important thing to think about is length of pull. So the space between your trigger and your buttstock. The thing you're going to look for is, as you mount the shotgun, if you have to move your hand up and down the grip to get to the trigger, the length of pull is off. If you find that you can't reach the trigger, your hand's stuck all the way back here, your stock is too long. If you find that you're reaching way over and you're finding trouble finding the trigger, your stock is too short. And on a lot of the more modern shotguns, you tend to have adjustable stocks so you could reach out or in. But on something like this, where it's wood framed, you're going to have to get a gunsmith to either cut pieces off or add spacers to give you more space. The ergonomics are very important. So think about these things: your length of pull, your cheek weld to the gun, the cant of your head, the tilt, and the actual shape of the buttstock itself. Now, we've spent all this time talking about how to find the right fit of shotgun for you, but what should you actually buy? I have a couple of recommendations for you. If you're deciding to go hunting, you want to think about where you're actually going to hunt. If you're going to hunt waterfowl or big game. Now, a couple good starter guns that are best bang for a buck, it would be a nice simple pump action. Think about the Mossberg 500 or the 590 or the Remington 870. Both are great starter guns, usually in the $500 to $600 range, and often have 2-barrel combos that are low pricier. Now, a 2-barrel combo is great because it gives you 2 barrels. The first barrel you'll get is a field barrel, something like this, a nice 28-inch barrel. This is going to be for things like waterfowl, so your duck and geese, as well as your upland game like pheasant or grouse. And then you'll also get a nice shorter barrel, a 24-inch rifled barrel, which you're going to use for slugs. This is ideal for your big game, deer, bear, moose, elk. Whereas if you're willing to spend a little bit more money and you want something in semi-automatic, the Stoeger M3000 or the M3500 are great options, as well as the Franchi Affinity. They're mid-range, probably about $1,000 give or take on either side, and they're phenomenal guns. They tend to come in a 1-barrel combo, but they're phenomenal guns, usually longer barreled, so you could use them for waterfowl, but they'll still make do for all your big game hunting. But if you got a little bit more money to burn, something like a Benelli or Beretta are the way to go. The Beretta A400 is a phenomenal gas-operated shotgun, whereas I here have the Benelli Super Black Eagle. Now, the reason I like this gun so much is it is higher end. You know, you're looking at about $2,000, $2,500 for something like this, but it comes right out of the box with everything you need to modify it to fit to you. A lot of these modern shotguns, the more expensive ones, will have shim plates. And what these shim plates allow you to do is adjust the length of your stock as well as adjust the angle. So you can make it fit you quite precisely right out of the box without a gunsmith, without shaming down any parts. If you're looking at target shooting, plays at a nice range, think about a nice over-under shotgun. These vary wildly in price. A cheap one is about $800 to $1,000, whereas a really expensive one, you could be spending upwards of like $50,000, $60,000. If you're looking for a cheaper model, you're going to look at something like the Franchi Instinct, the Stoeger Condor, the Stevens 555, or the CZ Condor. They're roughly in that $1,000 range, and they're great beginner guns. But as you get more expensive, again, the more modification you have as well. If you buy something like the Benelli 828U or the Beretta Silver Pigeon, they come out of the box with a lot of adjustability, but they're, upwards of $3,000 to $4,000. And then you get into ridiculous priced guns that are custom fitted for you, or that you could custom fit with all sorts of shims and plates and etc. You could spend upwards of like $20,000, $30,000 on something like a Beretta DT11, which is, frankly speaking, a phenomenal gun, super cool. But at $15,000, your price tag better be right. Hopefully this video helps you pick out your next shotgun. Follow us at Range Arts Training on Instagram and let us know what you're thinking about buying. See you next time.